in the UK. These are the visuals that you can see now. Once again, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of UK, who had first taken a step back when it came to aiding the US and helping the US land its aircraft or use UK facilities to strike Iran, has now entered the war himself. Now also remember, this comes after Cyprus was struck twice in heavy shell fire and missile raining. Now Cyprus houses some of the most important bases of the UK in Gulf. And post that incident, UK, which was earlier apprehensive of letting US, borrow its bases or use its bases to strike Iran, has now given a free pass to the US. And this also, in fact, created a disagreement between UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump. But now these are the visuals of US's stealth bomber aircraft landing on a UK strip. This also comes as part of US now ramping up its war efforts. Now remember, US is eyeing a complete hold militarily when it comes to this war against Iran. A third aircraft carrier is supposed to enter the West Asian waters on one end, and on the other, US is now landing its bombers, its stealth bombers in UK. Now, all of this is being done. The US military is spreading across region and making sort of like a circle to surround the West Asian region in its war against Iran. This also gives US now newer capabilities to take off and strike from different landing and taking off strips, making their operations swifter, more strategic, and the enemy will possibly not see US bombers coming because of their positioning. Viewers, now since we're talking about the West Asian waters, just day after a United States submarine sank an Iranian frigate in the Indian Ocean off of Sri Lanka's coast, the External Affairs Minister of India, S. Jaishankar, has explained India's decision to grant docking permission to another Iranian naval vessel, pointing to the long-standing presence of foreign military facilities in the region as part of what he said was the reality of the Indian Ocean. Now, his comments come in the context of 3 Iranian naval vessels that have found themselves at the center of this escalating war between Iran, the United States, and Israel in the first week of March itself. Now, the ships IRIS Dana, IRIS Lavan, and IRIS Bushehr had been operating in the Indian Ocean and had participated in the International Fleet Review and Milan 2026 exercises, both of which were hosted by the Indian Navy in Visakhapatnam just February this year. Now, Jaishankar has stressed that India's approach was guided by humanitarian considerations. In fact, we're also being joined by retired Captain Shyam Kumar, who's been a former naval officer and now is also a defense analyst. So thanks very much for speaking to Republic. I want to understand one thing from you. Now that, Jaishankar has said that we're allowing IRIS Lavan to dock in Kochi over humanitarian considerations, first, why did this same approach not begin, with IRIS Dana? Sir.
Thank you, Jayant, Shana Varuna. We are very clear about our position in Indian Ocean. We are the first responder. We are the crisis manager in this. We have the responsibility to look after. Our defense minister just said that, its oceans are center of power, and Indian Navy has to show its might, capability, and with transparency, we have to give a response. So please understand, India is in the route 8-degree, 9-degree channel. From the maritime history, a lot of ships have been passing through through this area. Whenever there is a crisis, there is a problem of engine or humanitarian issues, medical relief, we have been providing these supports from the olden days, historical to these days, modern Indian situations. So I'm sure, keeping the traditions in mind, we have given the permission for Lavan, which was there for last 2-3 days, loitering in our area and requesting for it. It has an engine problem, and therefore you see legality of it. 12 nautical miles is our land extension. Beyond that is international water, exclusive economic zone, in which freedom of navigation exists. Any ship can ply, but they can anchor if they are in distress or they have any problem. or if they are carrying out any wrong operations, oil spillage or some kind of fishing, then we carry out search. Or if there is a crisis management, then we give help also. I'm sure with normal operations of Indian Navy, if I have to see, this is the normal requirement. We have given Lawan the docking engines are being checked. Crew is in the hotel. As far as the Bushar is concerned, it was in the Sri Lankan waters near Colombo, and they have given a support to this ship. It was a training ship with cadets on board from Iran. INS Tarani, which was there around, again, Indian naval training ship, sail ship, which was diverted to check the search and rescue requirement. Ishak also sent out from Kochi for search and rescue. P8 aircraft with life raft also went. We went for the search and rescue. By then, Sri Lankan Navy had already done the actions. Right now, we have one ship still in the area of Gaul to check for the survivors. So India has reacted as per the requirement, as per the legacy, maritime legacy, and as per the capacity-centric operations as first responder in Indian Oceanic region.
So in fact, I'm really glad that you also mentioned this, because this goes on to bust the myth that, you know, India could have jumped forward and this happened in our backyard and we could have taken care of it, when actually that is not the case. These are international waters that we're talking about, and India cannot just overstep someone's maritime boundary. But also, sir, now to continue with the conversation, I want to understand there are some complexities to this as well. You know, we have given, even though it's on humanitarian considerations, but we have given docking permission to an Iranian vessel. Do you think that that will in any way hamper India's position? This is humanitarian. This is what our Navy has always stood for. Like you said, we are the first responders in the Indian Ocean region, possibly also the strongest one when it comes to the Navy. But do you think that this can have some political implications also for India, considering that it's the US and Israel on the other end of this war, both countries that we have great relations with, sir?
India has maintained the law of neutrality. We are not into any alignment. We have some agreement like logistic maritime agreement with America. Please remember, USS Atlantic has been pushed back, or it has taken a tactical retreat from the Hormuz towards the Arabian Sea, probably closer to our area of operations, and we have to be vigilant about it. Probably USA may invoke the LIMUA, saying that we have agreement with you and you need your ports and harbors, but India is cautious about it, and we will have to look at it very carefully. As far as Iran is concerned, we have great relations with Iran. We have the Chawar port at stake there. So we want to be neutral. And remember, international water. Let me remind you, Operation Sindoor, which I told from your studio last year. We were in international water. We did not fire at Karachi or Makran and Sindh coast, because if you fire, you are actually declaring a proper war, which we did not want. International space, when you use, actually you are into the different legality of the international law of armed conflict at sea. These are all defined from 47-49 Geneva Conference. If that submarine, Virginia-class submarine, had to fire at Dana, it was a legitimate military target in area of interest and in international waters. If there's a merchant, then this submarine had to warn them, take the crew away, life raft, not life raft, but proper ship around, and then fire if there is a contraband being on board on a merchant ship. So I'm sure about these aspects. These are law of armed conflict at sea. Indian Navy is deployed in Arabian areas, in Oman. Operation Sankalp is on. The task group commander responsibility of 154 is with India for the anti-piracy operation. INS Surat was in Bahrain on 18th of February. We are doing maritime engagement, but we have eyes on Malacca State, Madagascar, North Bay of Bengal, and the Maldives area, because these are sensitive areas, and we are looking forward for any other kind of suspicious activity. Now China is in problem, because now they know a selective targeting of a submarine can do selective targeting on a merchant ship or warships. And Malacca State, why he's worried, why there is a CPAC, why there is a Pakistan, why he wants to open a new route from the Pakistan side to take oil from Gulf. All this is clear. China is looking at it very carefully about this kind of attacks which can happen. And you know, our submarines are also around, our ships are around, and we are keeping a good vigil. Confidence building for seafarers, capability-centric operations, and first responder. We are looking at it and we are weighing our responses with respect to Iran and America in that sense.
Right, sir. Captain Sham, in fact, I will request you to continue being with us. We're also tracking some more breaking developments that we're getting at this hour. Now, viewers, Iran has hit UAE's Al Dhafra Air Base. Now, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, their navy has launched a drone attack on the Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates. That's the latest that we're picking up. Sir, coming back to you quickly on this, we're housing Iranian Navy vessels on humanitarian grounds. Just before that, IRIS, they now was struck with a by a US torpedo in the Indian Ocean region close to Sri Lanka. At least 87 sailors lost their lives. And now Iranian Navy has struck an air base using a drone strike in the UAE. Now I want to understand, with the Navy entering this war heavily, the US also is planning to send in another aircraft carrier in the West Asian waters. And we know that Navy is only deployed, Navy's guns are only held high when the war gets serious. So where do you think that this is going to go? This is not just limited to, ground border fighting anymore. This is not just limited to aircraft and drones. Now ships are getting involved in this, sir.
Yes, it's very, very important for you to understand, whenever there is a war, if there is a full-fledged war, the ships have to be involved. I'm showing you a warship here, which I'm carrying. This is an Indian warship, which has got a missile, got a helicopter. And I'm also carrying a missile which can fire. You see, these things can be demonstrated to you with the air-to-air refueler, 15 more ships coming to the area, 3 aircraft carriers, and France also committing to get Charles de Gaulle in Red Sea. The 4 aircraft carriers in the area will be very, very devastating. 70 to 80 aircraft on board, 250 sorties per day, including night landing facilities, FA-18, E2I, AWAC, E2I, the surveillance aircraft, the electronic support aircraft, and the refuelers. With the refuelers, they can go back and remain out of the range of Iranian ballistic missiles and carry out devastating attack in waves. Like 80, 90, 100 aircrafts can attack Iran, devastating attack on the war-waging facilities, such as missile containers, the IRGC command control centers, communication centers, the drone-making facilities, and the other cruise missiles facilities, which are still not been used by Iran. Because remember, cruise missiles, when they will come to the operations, they will be most killer missiles for the ships at sea. They will be sea skimming, they will be at very low height, they will be carrying very high load, for which Iran is still not opened his full throttle. So please remember, there are many more to come. They have a lot of things, a lot of industrial domain, indigenized produced missiles. Even Yemen has not opened its front. There could be missile coming from Yemen side. There is a blockade at sea. They don't want anybody to supply anything from outside. That is why from all around, naval ships have blockaded the Arabian Sea and all areas which could lead to Iranian war-waging capacity built up. So remember, the USS Bastan is also there, which is an amphibious assault ship, which is carrying 9,000 Marines and many helicopters and drone launching stations. It has the American Lincoln is escorted by USS the Bridgestone is with the Gerald Ford, and Hudson is with Lincoln. These are top-class destroyers of America. Best destroyers of 10,000 ton with 90 type of weapons and missiles, torpedoes, helicopters, MR-60, which can again be used against submarine.
Right.
Remember, Iran has submarines, but it has not been used to deploy it in the Arabian Sea, so the carriers are safe against submarine threats. So the only threat is all air threat, and they are very, very effectively neutralizing the air threats by the air shield and by the air defense systems at sea.
Right, sir. That was Captain Shyam Kumar. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to Republic and sharing your insights with us. Viewers, for now, we're shifting focus and moving on. And we're getting you other breaking developments. Now, the Iran-Israel-US war has entered its 8th day today, and Israel has intensified its airstrikes aimed at targets in Iranian territories, targeting key structures and infrastructure in the capital city of Tehran. Now, in the latest development, the Mehrabad International Airport was attacked once again by Israeli strikes. Take a look at this.
It's the 8th day of the war. Israel has wreaked havoc on key Iranian infrastructure. The Mehrabad International Airport was once again ravaged by Israeli airstrikes. This is the second time the Mehrabad International Airport has been struck by the Israeli Air Force. The footage shows plumes of smoke and fire billowing out from the airport. The strikes were conducted after Israeli military stated that it was conducting extensive wave of strikes against regime's targets in Iran's capital. Earlier, it was attacked on 3rd of March. Situated in western Tehran, it's one of Iran's largest and busiest aviation hubs. Its location within the capital makes it strategically significant.
Viewers, now the United States is all set to ramp up its war efforts against Iran. U.S. Treasury Secretary told Fox Business host Scott Bessent that Friday night would be United States' biggest bombing campaign in Iran. That's no small statement. Now, meanwhile, U.S. is expected to deploy a third aircraft carrier, while USS Gerald Ford, its largest and the world's largest aircraft carrier, already remains in the West Asian waters. Now, this comes while approving emergency sale of bombs to Israel, significantly stepping up its war collaborative efforts next to Israel against Iran. Here's the full report that gets you the story.
It is day 8 of Israel and US's war against Iran. The United States and Israel have battered Iran with strikes targeting their military capabilities, leadership, and nuclear program. However, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated that the United States is set to carry out the biggest bombing campaign in Iran yet. US and Israeli officials have said this week that attacks on Iran would increase. Donald Trump also said that the big wave is yet to come. He has also ruled out talks with Iran unless they are ready for an unconditional surrender. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also said that firepower over Tehran would surge dramatically. The US State Department has also approved emergency sale of munitions to Israel. Meanwhile, according to reports, the US is set to deploy a third aircraft carrier, USS George H.W. Bush, to the region. The vessel is certified ready for deployment and is expected to sail from the US on Thursday, according to reports. With USS Ford in the Red Sea and the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea, the USS Bush is also expected to be stationed in the region as the war against Iran continues to escalate.
And with that, viewers, it's time to slip into a short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. Where rolling coverage continues on the other end. We're going to talk to you about how the US has now intensified its warship buildup amid the war in the West Asian waters. That and a lot more coming up right after this short break. Stay tuned to Republic TV.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर्नब मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिम MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिम
जीरा सिम असली रिफ्रेशिंग असली स्वाद असली मजा
MDH
U.S. Central Command began Operation Epic Fury at the president's direction. The goal was to dismantle Iran's security structure and remove imminent threats. Targets include command centers, missile facilities, air defenses, and key military infrastructure. From stealth bombers to missile defense systems, the U.S. deployed air, naval, and surveillance power across the region.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा मसाला।
يا نحش اللي يشيل الشيعة سرتنا طاح المرتفع
When we all sleep peacefully at night, there are our guardians at the border who ensure that we have a sound, safe sleep. They are the ones who are standing alert in snow, in desert, in high altitudes, in darkness, in the most difficult of conditions. India's borders are not just lines on a map. They are lines of honor, they are lines of bravery, they are lines of national pride. And to shed light on the untold story of our frontier protectors, please welcome former Inspector General Border Security Force, Mr. N.D. Dubey. Big round of applause, please.
Thank you, Republic Media Network, because I take back my memory to the first edition of Nationalist Conclave and had opportunity to be part of that. And later on, I realized that it's a very great initiative by the media house to bring such illustrious persons on this platform to share their vision, their own thought process, and what they envision about the national security in the future. So before I step to my specific talk, I could not resist connecting what Sushil Pandit ji just told. For your information, even after landing up in Kashmir, for passing almost 3 years in initial days after 1990, the kind of systematic genocide which happened in that area, we also were not so much aware about the forces doing all these things because we were busy, we were engaged in day-to-day fight. As it is told that the terrorism in Kashmir started from South Kashmir, and if there will be any fortunate day that it will dial down, South Kashmir will be the ground where its genuineness will be tested. I don't know when that time will come. Anantnag and Pulwama. So while combing and moving in the villages, how could a person identify a Kashmiri Pandit? Leftover families, most helpless. It may be overstated that in a state of destitute, few families we could just trace out, hiding some inside the hamlet area, and with their dhotis, with their clothes, we used to recognize the Littar, Wachi, Pulwama. I still remember the Pinglana village. I still remember Trishul village, where I worked in those initial days, where you have to just count your hours and days while moving from one road to other road, getting the villages vacated from the active terrorists firing on moving people and killing. I mean, those were the days when even terrorism was not settled and the counter-terrorism was just evolving. How to handle the situation. So I fully acknowledge what Panditji told. I keep on listening him on the media debate, and the way he connected that such a sad story, unwept, unheard, unsung. And I think being in National Investigation Agency, I could see 2017. There were 3 operations in 2017 conducted in Kashmir. And I think thereafter 2017, 18, 19, and 20, and then things are available in open domain, one can know about it. So whatever the names you mentioned, I've been very well connected to the criminal chapter of these people and have some solace, some sense of relief after systematic work done in 2017 and 18. And it definitely put a lot of impact. Things are more to go ahead, and I think situation has taken some attention. I'm happy for that. So distinguished guests, as the anchor just mentioned about the vibrant borders, their guardians. So for your information, the best envisioned Indian border we had seen in Maurya Kal, as you remember it, you all know, followed by Chandragupta, and again the golden period, which we find that probably the India was basically touching to its longest arm, Uttar, Dakshin, Purab, Paschim, that is a part of history. Now we come to 1947, where a barrister just drew partition line between the larger India, which became Red Cliff Line, and those 3,210 kilometers. We inherited in a very tragic circumstances, 15 August 1947, as we all know. World's longest migration of the population, almost 15 million, with dead bodies of almost 1.5 million, never happened in the world so far before that. So that is the kind of land border we inherited on our western frontier, which was not very easy to handle. We always experience that these land borders are basically the opportunities also, but these borders have been proving since last 77 years, mostly the point of conflict. We have got a very rogue neighbor on our western frontier, which compelled us to fight for almost 4 times in the history. Our northern frontier, as you know, about the China border, we have got some history, we have got some territorial dispute, and Sir was mentioning about 2.5. Now 0.5 has moved to complete 1, and 2 is now 3, because as you know, the emerging results of Jamaat-e-Islami's total seats in recently concluded Bangladesh, particularly in border belt. So border belt, if Jamaat has done almost more than 75% of success, you can very well imagine about the counterpart portion of the international border on more than 4,000 kilometers with Bangladesh. And more than 50% of the border is with West Bengal, as we are all aware, more than 2,200 kilometers with West Bengal. And rest 4 states are sharing left over the portion of the land border with Bangladesh. So this is the situation on eastern frontier. With this inheritance, it is very difficult that the security forces guarding the borders are going not to have a sleepless night. So if we take the example of the Pakistan border, recently concluded Operation Sindoor, it's not concluded, it's still on. So challenges are well known to everyone, that coming days how we are going to handle this border. Thanks to the Talibanis engaging very well on Durand. So Pakistan is already struggling on their more than 2,500 kilometers border. And their eastern frontier is still active, courtesy to the state-sponsored people. Let us wait and watch. And the continuity of Operation Sindoor is itself a very great deterrence, those things. Now we think over to Paschim Bengal, West Bengal border. Having full importance and full seriousness to the western border, my take is that probably the eastern border is not getting that much attention which it should require. The potential is very great there. And Bengal, particularly Bengal and Tripura, some portion of Meghalaya, are going to test us in future. The complete infiltration, illegal migration, and also the connected crimes happening there are a very great challenge for the country. So eastern frontier is they are also having their own issues. China border, as you know, that probably we are handling our own way. But generally the economic growth, political engagement, diplomatic successes, our military power are tagged more frequently. But the kind of duty the Jawans are performing there, they are not very well known to the common man. We share 15,000 kilometer plus land border in the world, 15,000 plus kilometer border, and if you just make its half, that is our ocean territory, 7,500 kilometers. So 15,000 kilometer border, it passes through most treacherous, most inhospitable area of the earth. And you take the example of western border. If a Jawan is posted in Chorbatla, Dras, Gures, minus 50-degree temperature, then plus 50-degree temperature of Thar tests him just after 2 years, 3 years rotation. So you take the challenges of Thar border. Sar Creek, most critical portion of Gujarat, which the forces are defending. And that is basically the part of border security force. So Sar Creek is not only terrain-wise and climate-wise so difficult, but Sar Creek has become strategically very, very demanding area in the last 3 to 4 years. So that is also on the scanner. And our strategy is basically to go further. I mean, our part of the land is more difficult as compared to Pakistan part. So that area is also requiring a lot of attention in Sar Creek area. Sundarban, more than 172 kilometers water area. And Sundarban is being defended by not a very adequate number of forces. I think it again requires some attention because that watery part is very, very hostile during monsoon, and it is beyond human control to stop the ingress from the opposite party. So the Sundarban area is also going to be a very big challenge for us, which are, I think there is some thought process going on in the government to enhance the forces to protect that portion of the land border. And that is the world's largest mangrove. So you can imagine the difficulties in the month of December. 25, I have opportunity to see the area basically. First time to know the hazards. The entire eastern border is basically traversed by the huge rivers and the complete web of high-flowing rivers, making very difficult to protect that land border. Brahmaputra becomes 62 kilometers wide during monsoon, having some chars in between, and jawans are hanging on the bamboo shades inside the water. They have to basically go for natural call in the water. They change the clothes. They have to just take bath after 7 days, 8 days. So those area is humanly very, very difficult to defend. I mean, it's called eastern border, but eastern border has got its own very big challenges. It's very porous, humanly impossible to stop 100% infiltration. And the biggest issue is landless posts. We as a country could not provide our own land to the security forces who are guarding the international border. I mean, see, it's a central versus state issue, particularly in West Bengal. How Seema Chowki can be landless? It's a very surprising issue. It doesn't have its own land. So as per policy, you cannot make Seema Chowki pakka. You cannot invest money because that land is not yours. That is Indian land, but that land is not yours. That is the biggest paradox. I think some work is going on for that. Next issue is basically a very strict documentation and the monitoring part of forged papers being manufactured by the racketeers. They are the people across the border, not only in Indian territory, they are in Bangladesh also. But their entire nizam is so common that they are able to create these documentations, and they are facilitators right inside unless such crimes are not made part of UAPA Act. I think they are being dealt with soft hand. They really need to be punished properly, which must be in the thought process of the government, and something must be going on. Now, statewide, Bhutan, there is no issue. We are handling Siliguri corridor is a big charcha. So it's a very strategic issue to discuss about the Siliguri corridor also. But I think let us wait and watch about the response of the newly elected government in Bangladesh. The initial exchange of talk, gestures have been very encouraging. But time will tell what is going to happen. That is one good thing, that the government has come with a good majority. They are not the limping side to have a support of Jamaitis. But time will tell which side the entire issue is going. That is the Bangladesh issue. So rogue neighbor, again, indefinite character of few neighbors, like in Bangladesh. You take the example of Nepal also. What kind of political establishment is there? That depends on the reflection of our relationship between India and that country. So we cannot have this a permanent feature. Today the relationship is like this with the Awami League. And next year, if there is a BNP, what kind of relationship we are going to have? Because being in NIA, I have experienced the kind of support by Sheikh Hasina during those tenures. And I tell you, that has been the best example between two countries where the relationship, it jumped beyond the boundary while dealing with the anti-national elements. Wanted people from Bangladesh territory who were taking refuge. The way they were brought before court of law to face the trial. And it was exemplary conviction, historical investigation, just by the support of the neighboring country. So what kind of regime is going to be there? It is also going to reflect on the success of national security front. That is also one of the very important things. Nepal, we are hopeful. Nepal has got a good signal as compared to other countries. Elections are going to be held very soon, and these political and diplomatic engagements are quite encouraging. So nothing to talk about Nepal at this moment. So we have to again wait and see what is going to happen. The entire border, 1,500 something kilometer, 2,500 kilometer being handled by the SSB, some part of Bhutan, again with the Sashastra Seema Bal. ITBP is guarding most inhospitable mountainous terrain with China. We all are aware. It's almost, 3,500 kilometer plus. So these 15,000 kilometer land borders are very fascinating on map. They are academically, they give a very good impression about the curved contours of those maps, giving different colors. But defending these borders are really a very, very great task, very difficult task, which the respective security forces of border guarding area they are doing, including Border Security Force, Sashastra Seema Bal, and Indo-Tibetan Border Police. They are all established post-independence era. And these organizations have been raised after testing one battle with the other country. So before raising these solid border guarding forces, we had to fight a full pitch war with the neighboring country. So borders have never been permanent. They have been basically memory for a scar as far my experience is concerned in recent eras. So we cannot be complacent. We cannot sit complacent on the issue of guarding the border, because it's not only the line of international border have been challenged at many occasions. The most importantly that our complete hinterland, length and breadth of the country, 3,002 kilometer lamba और 3,000 kilometer चौड़ा जो देश है, the hinterland has been affected since last 3.5 decades so badly. And these threats, except Purulia armed drop case, and except 26/11 Mumbai, all the land attacks have got some connection with the security of the international border. We have to accept it. Let us take it right up to Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune. We take Lucknow, we take Delhi, complete country, entire country, wherever these terror incidents have happened. I mean, you take 2 January 2016, Pathankot Air Base attack. You take 14 February 2019, Pulwama attack. You take Parliament attack, 13 December 2003. You take 2001, you take JNK Assembly attack, 1st October 2001. You take all these examples, all these attacks, including recent attack of November 2025 in Delhi. So land borders, land security, and border security are of a very paramount importance, not only to defend the territorial integrity and not only to be part of Operation Sindoor, because as you know, Border Security Force has been occupying the complete line of control with army and the land border of 192 kilometers of Jammu, complete Punjab, complete Rajasthan and Gujarat border without vacating a single Seema Chowki in the entire conflict. They suffered 3 casualties. All 3 awarded Veer Chakra in the Operation Sindoor. They were victim of drone attack in Jammu area, and their contribution in line of control in Kashmir have been tremendous. So these guardians of borders, they need your good wishes, they need your support, and they need your respect, because the territory they are defending is not so easy as it is shown on the map. With these words, I conclude my lecture, my talk with you. Thank you so much.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
U.S. Central Command began Operation Epic Fury at the president's direction. The goal was to dismantle Iran's security structure and remove imminent threats. Targets include command centers, missile facilities, air defenses, and key military infrastructure. From stealth bombers to missile defense systems, the U.S. deployed air, naval, and surveillance power across the region.
These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America" or "Death to Israel," or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise.
Operation Epic Fury marks one of the most
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
يا نعش اللي يشيل الشيعة سرتنا طاح المرتفع
from Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
And welcome. You're watching live and breaking on Republic TV with me, Ishita Mitra. Now, viewers, our rolling coverage on the war in West Asia continues. This as the US is now ready to send its third aircraft carrier to Middle East. We'll get you all the latest developments. But first up, let's track the headlines of this hour. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warns Iran, says tonight's bombing campaign will be the largest against the country. US intensifies warship build-up amid the war in West Asia. Reports suggest the US will now send its third aircraft carrier to Middle East. India issues first statement. IRIS Lavan dogged at Kochi port. As Jaishankar says, India decided to help on humanitarian grounds. Iranian ship IRIS Lavan docked at Kochi port. India gave safe harbour to Lavan on March 4th. Fake narrative of India coming to aid IRIS Dana busted. Dana never sought safe harbour. Iran tweets a picture of a ballistic missile resembling nuclear bomb, warns consequences will make regime desperate. The TTP continues its attacks on Pakistani forces, targeting 7 districts in the last 24 hours. All right, welcome viewers. We've got a breaking development coming to light from war in West Asia. Donald Trump has now tweeted amid the ongoing war. He says he's warned of more attacks on Iran. He says, and I quote him here, today Iran will be hit very hard. Now that's the latest statement coming in from Donald Trump, who's now issued a warning to Tehran, saying that tonight will in fact witness intense bombing from the US side on the country. That's a clear warning issued by the US President to Iran as the war in West Asia continues to escalate. He also says that in response to Iran taking a more conciliatory tone towards Gulf states, that he has now in fact ensured. In fact, we've got a detailed statement for you viewers on your screen. He now says Iran, which is beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to Middle East neighbors and promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. Now, the promise was only made after the US carried out relentless attacks on Iran. They were, in fact, ready to take over and rule the Middle East. It is the first time that Iran has ever lost in thousands of years to surrounding Middle East countries. They also say that, thank you, President. I said welcome. So essentially, Trump saying that the Gulf states have thanked him, and he's now responded to them. Iran, he says, has become the loser of the Middle East, who wanted to rule the region and will, in fact, be that for many decades until they surrender. And now coming to the more concerning part, where the warning has now been issued by Donald Trump. He says Iran will be hit very hard. Remember, before this, the Treasury Secretary has also said that there will be intense bombing on Iran tonight. US is also looking to move forward its more assets to Middle East. And now Donald Trump also saying that they will be hitting Iran hard. That's the latest statement coming in from the US President regarding the latest developments. He says that Iran has apologized to its neighbors in the Gulf states, and it is America's attacks on Iran that made Tehran apologize to the Gulf states. And now he also says, issuing a warning to Tehran that they will be hit hard tonight, which clearly means on day 8 of this war, viewers, we're looking at escalations from both the sides, Iran not backing off and Donald Trump now issuing a warning, in fact, on this. My colleague Shravan now joins me with more details on this. Shravan, it seems that there will be more escalations, that Donald Trump now issues a warning to Tehran saying they will be hit hard.
Well, in fact, Ishita, from the start of the war, multiple statements have been made by President Trump. It began with what was being called a quick war, with the objective essentially being a regime change. Over the last few days, what has basically transpired is that it is far from over. In fact, it is only stretching. What perhaps the United States of America and Israel did not expect is a strong comeback by the Iranians. Remember, what the Iranians have essentially done is targeting allies of United States of America, essentially looking at widening